Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I've played a lot of games over the past 30 or so years, and I've come up with a comprendum, a list of 10 games you need to play before you die. Roll that intro. Deus Ex is notable in that it manages to hit that rare, perfect combo of very intelligent and awesome story writing, great soundtrack, great gameplay, even though it is kind of exploitable to say the least, and perhaps least of all, the graphics, which were pretty good for the early 2000s, I'd say. Models could use some help, but, I mean, it's Deus Ex. You look at it, you recognize it, it's there. I recognize, though, that conspiracy theories aren't for everybody, and conspiracy theories are at the core of this game, so play it if you love them, miss it if you don't. Number 10. Watch Dogs 2 from 2016. I've never been a big fan of the hacking scene taking itself way too seriously, so when I played the first Watch Dogs, I was all... It took itself way too seriously, and the gritty tone was quite lame. Watch Dogs 2 manages to be measurably more entertaining in both gameplay and the story.
Alright, now I can deal with Jordy's job. Some kind of driving contract, delivering a guy somewhere. This won't be a typical taxi service. The trick with these jobs is avoiding the cops.
I got a shirt just like that.
Ugh, not the pickup lines again.
Have we met?
Yeah, at the party, remember?
Oh, there's kind of a lot I don't remember from that night.
Totally understand.
What are you up to?
I've been writing an exploit for the CTOS-enabled ATMs. They got a lot of new features we'll be able to fuck with. You want to give it a test run?
While the first one parodied next to nothing about the average Chicagoan existence, of which there is a lot to parody, Watch Dogs 2 basically goes ham on the average San Franciscan living experience without being overtly offensive. Not to mention doubling down on the as of 2016 or so hacker culture. It's a blast. I haven't got a copy of Watch Dogs Legion yet, but they appear to be taking the goofy culture parody to a new extreme, which would definitely push the level past good taste. Number 9. 2008's GTA 4. In the land of Grand Theft Auto societal parody, GTA 4 stands out as, holy crap, we can make a gritty story out of this. In this game, you play as Niko Bellic, a Yugoslavian refugee looking for revenge for what happened to him during the Yugoslav Wars, as well as a new life in America. This contrasting Eastern European outlook on life compared to the American outlook is on full and great display here, and adds a new dimension to the parody that is a staple in the GTA series. You may remember me complaining about the grit in Watch Dogs, but with GTA's presentation firmly rooted in Western life parody, having a serious story, but with the element of parody, was a nice departure, and even better, it's a one-off. I'm pretty sure they're not going to be doing a gritty revenge tale ever again in this series, making this entry even better. Just watch out for that wonky-ass driving. Number 8. SimCopter from 1997. Flying around and doing daring public service missions in cities that you built in SimCity 2000? Yes, please. SimCopter is the one product to take away from the dark days of the late 90s era Maxis. This gameplay is simple. Get money by helping the city, to upgrade or buy new helicopters, to more efficiently help the city. There is a campaign, and in traditional late 90s fashion, the end of the campaign is quite lame. The main draw for me was seeing a 3D version of what I made in an isometric 2D city building game. Even if that 3D version reeks of, it's the late 90s and we shouldn't be doing this, man. It even looked at your city stats, like fire protection, crime, traffic, hospital coverage, etc., and made a representation of that in the game. Oh, and did I mention the jazz? Honorable mentions would go to Streets of SimCity, a vehicular combat game, if I could keep it running for longer than 15 minutes, even back in its prime. Number 7. Phasmophobia from 2020. What's this? A game from 2020 making the list? I thought gaming was dead! Phasmophobia is basically sim ghost adventures, where you get to inspect haunted properties, and by piecing together clues, using an arsenal of somewhat outlandish items, and what happened to other crewmates if you're not playing solo, try to guess what entity is haunting the grounds. The local and radio chat systems make the game very immersive. Betty, are you here? And it's genuinely spooky when the game decides it's time for you to die, because it happens randomly. It's probably way more immersive in VR. There's no gross out content either, which is always a plus for accessibility. Oh, and always be sure to say bro at the end of every sentence, you know, like the legitimate ghost hunter guy does. Whew, I got the spooks. Got the spooks, bro. Got the spooks. Number 6. Star Fox 64 from 1997. Definitely the best entry in the Star Fox series. You can play this one and be covered for about 90% of what the entire series has to offer. Star Fox 64 is an on-rails and arena shooter game which has you aboard the R-Wing, a versatile spacecraft. You play as Fox, leader of the Star Fox team, as you fly around through the Lilat solar system and defeat the minions of the evil scientist Andros, and eventually Andros himself. It's the first entry in the series to feature full 3D models, and never feels bogged down by the hardware. Memorable lines aplenty.
Got you, little freak! Do a barrel roll! No! Get the blade! Hey, Einstein, I'm on your side! Don't get too cocky, Star Fox.
Great gameplay and pretty good graphics for the time. Not to mention the best sidekick, Falco Lombardi.
This thing will never hold together. That's it, Fox! Hold still and let me shoot you. Gee, I've been saved by Fox. How swell.
If you don't want to set up an N64, a remastered version is available for the 3DS, and I'm sure it would be a top candidate for a virtual console-like service for the Switch, if that ever happens. Number 5. 1999's Silent Hill. We're not talking about the sequels here, we're talking about the original, straight from 1999. Silent Hill, at least for me anyway, will always be the perfect blend of actual good horror, WTF material, which are a lot, great atmosphere, great gameplay, weird but not too obtuse puzzles, and drama, which is very little drama. It sets a high standard for horror games going all the way up to today. I especially like that the entire town was rendered in 3D. A pretty great accomplishment for the then humble hardware of the PS1, which had been out at about 5 years at that point. Those JPEG backgrounds always bothered me, even on the old classic tube televisions. Number 4. Diablo II from the year 2000. For dungeon crawling, this is my go-to. Admittedly enough, I haven't played a lot of these types of games, just the Diablo series and Path of Exile. But I find Diablo 2's quirks, intricacies, level system, skill tree, and overall gameplay to be the most satisfying. Diablo 3 feels too simple and reeked of preferred season build is the only way to go, or perhaps the more popularly known Blizzy knows best. Path of Exile's skill tree was very ridiculous, but everything else about it was pretty good. The newest mod, Project Diablo 2, does a great job of continuing what was already established, while balancing the base game out, because let's face it, some builds and classes were better than others. Looking at you, Necromancer. Some people may also find the sprite-based graphics hard to look at, but, well, that's your problem. Number 3. Chrono Trigger from 1995. It's the perfect RPG. Great turn-based battle system, pretty to look at, amazing story, not overly Japanese, unlike some other games. Amazing soundtrack. There's basically no flaw in this game. The only thing to complain about here is the long list of endings, which might drive a lore nut absolutely insane. Play it unless you absolutely hate RPGs. Number 2. Castlevania 4 from 1991, or Castlevania Symphony of the Night from 1997. This is a tie because it really boils down to how you like your progression. If you love the linear progression of the classic Castlevania games, Castlevania 4 is the best one, with its smooth gameplay, 360-degree whipping, unique art style, and logical control scheme. It has cemented itself, with me anyway, as one of the best side-scrollers of all time. If you like your progression RPG style, with character leveling, companions, and item finding, Castlevania Symphony of the Night is your game. It also became the template of side-scrolling Castlevanias for the following 15 years. So it was a lot of other people's game as well. Number 1. City Skylines from 2015. For those people that know me for a very long time, they know that I am a huge SimCity fan. I played them all. I found the quirks and nuances of every one, except SimCity Societies. And I did a retrospective. It's a great series. I also played Cities XL, but didn't feel as good about it as the SimCity games. Well, I found City Skylines to feel about on level with SimCity 4, my favorite of the SimCity series, while being an agent-based simulation game. For the in-depth explanations, go watch the SimCity 2013 video, but I do have some criticisms here. My top concern is the fact that the game is just too easy. Unless you started on the hardest difficulty, you have to try to fail. The hardest difficulty just seems to exercise your patience level. My other complaint is the gameplay concept of the death wave. In this game, dealing with dead bodies is a civic responsibility. So, when everybody that moves into your new city is the same age, they'll all die at roughly the same time, putting a strain on these cities' death infrastructure. While it's funny to think about, especially in the age of boomers, a real problem is presented because generations are very cut and dry in this game. So the periodic death wave just keeps happening. Fortunately, the mod scene helps this game out in more than just that way. Indeed, the mods for this game are mind-boggling, and greatly enhance the gameplay. It's basically the city sim I've been waiting 20 years to play as of the time it was released, so I'm so glad I got to play it. Okay, that was it. There's our list for the video game squadron, or video game battalion, or video game... Anyway, there it is. Now all 3 of the main divisions have a list. I guess if you want to see a commenters list, throw your favorite game down in the comments below. But otherwise, we'll see you on the next one.